Hello and welcome to The Pulse. In this week's show, we look at a government plan to expand police powers to test for drug use. And what's in the future for Hong Kong's fortune-telling books in mainland China? Not much if the Chinese government has its way. First, though, last September, Chinese state media said that more than 400 million Chinese are unable to speak Putonghua, the national language, and large numbers in the rest of the country speak it badly. Pretty much every year, the government launches another push for linguistic unity. While officials admit they will probably never get the whole country to speak Putonghua, that doesn't stop them trying. And many people are concerned about the way these efforts are spreading to Hong Kong.
Many of the leaders of the Chinese Revolution of 1911, including Sun Yat-sen, were from southern China. Cantonese was the primary language of many of them. Despite that, according to mainland scholars, the decision to make Putonghua the national language was finalized by the Pronunciation Unification Council set up in 1913. However, Cantonese has long been the dominant spoken language in Hong Kong and southern China. During the 1940s and 1950s, the territory's new immigrants escaping the Communist Revolution spoke a variety of dialects, including Putonghua, Shanghainese, Hakka, Chiuchow, and Cantonese. The colonial government decided to use Cantonese as the common spoken language when communicating to local people. After the 1967 disturbances, the government introduced a policy that Cantonese and English would be the official spoken languages in primary and secondary schools. Radio stations began broadcasting in Cantonese and English only. According to current figures, around 90% of Hong Kong people are Cantonese speakers. Just before the Lunar New Year holidays, the Education and Manpower Bureau published an article on its language learning support page in which it said Cantonese is a dialect, but not an officially used language in Hong Kong. The statement sparked a new wave of controversy and concern regarding Hong Kong's identity.
It seems that it is a stupid mistake, and on the other day, it was being corrected, and the whole page was being deleted, and the Education Bureau made an apology to the public. I think this shows that the Education Bureau found that it has no ground to make such an statement. Whether this stupid mistake reflects some kind of ideology to undermine Cantonese in long run.
我想要用粤语一统天下，最恨普通话了。马英，
马英，老爷，嘿！
On social media and elsewhere on the internet, commentators have picked up on a clip of a program produced for the Education and Manpower Bureau that many view as the most unsubtle propaganda, and which they worry points to a desire to denigrate Cantonese usage. It isn't only in Hong Kong that citizens feel impelled to defend Cantonese. In mid-2010, hundreds of demonstrators marched on the street to protest over Guangzhou TV, shifting its programs from Cantonese to Putonghua. The decision had been made in response to a written proposal from the Chinese People's Political Conference that Putonghua programs should be the mainstream. Guangzhou TV finally dropped the idea in the face of the opposition. For Hong Kongers, Cantonese, like the use of complex Chinese characters in writing, is more than a dialect or a language. It's also a symbol of self-identity.
回歸之後話要兩文三語嗰陣時已經係留意到，因為你即係呢個喺外國已經係有一個咁嘅情況出現啦。好似譬如話喺新加坡啊、印尼啊，有啲地方可能係唔俾話中文嘅咁樣，或者唔俾講中文嘅都有嘅。咁其實都會驚呢樣嘢，就係收翻之後都會有呢個問題嘅。
Academic and writer Xu Xi also believes that Cantonese has considerable historical value and should be preserved instead of dismissed.
It's full of puns. It's cheeky. It's naughty. It's not afraid of authority in its way. It's sort of defiant of authority. It's a little bit like the child who won't be obedient. And I think there is something about the human spirit in Cantonese that comes out in the language, very much so.
Well, with us in the studio is Ben Aoyung of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. In the film that we've just been looking at, we always talk about Cantonese as being a dialect, but in fact, many people argue that it's not a dialect, it's a language in its own right. Where do you stand on that?
When we say Cantonese is a language, we just from the linguistic point of view, that is, all languages are equal. Cantonese, Qiuqiuhua, Shanghaiwa are equal. But from the sake of convenience, when we want to distinguish these languages from the national language, Putonghua, we may say Cantonese is a dialect, which is only just a convenient term for us to say it, and it's just based on the geographical grounds.
Right, but I mean, people in Hong Kong are very sensitive, I
Yeah.
think it's correct to say, about Cantonese, perhaps increasingly so. Why is that?
And because languages, for us, especially our mother tongue, is highly or closely related to our emotion. So if the government has said something about the language, blah, 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 and our emotions will get high. And go back to the case of the Education Bureau, he said that it is an unofficial language. So when something is regarded as unofficial, our negative sense grows very rapidly. And now my language is regarded as unofficial. So this is a wrong message with respect to the cases that our chief, Mr. Leung used Cantonese as the language to voice to voice to do the policy report, and we use language in legislative council in the debate, in the discussion, and so if it is regarded as unofficial, so how can we explain this phenomena? So are our top officials using an unofficial language to do their job?
Obviously, Hong Kong will integrate further into the mainland. Do you think that the upshot of that will be the steady disappearance of Cantonese?
So Cantonese will be by and large affected by Putonghua, maybe at the lexicon, at the word level. So I think we should not only conserve the language, but also we have to to vitalize our language from
but Cantonese is quite a dynamic language, isn't it?
Quite dynamic in the sense we have a lot of trendy expressions. For example, our what the previous CEO Mr. Zhang used hair. Hair means to have a leisure way to do something. So this is quite iconic to Cantonese.
But I'm just wondering, if you look across the border at Guangdong province, where obviously the majority of people are Cantonese speakers, do you think that shows that the language is under threat of disappearing?
How should I put it? Because I have been to Cantonese last month and visited their Canton radio, and out of 9 channels, they use 7 channels to use Cantonese to do the media, and I think they protect or they conserve the language out of more strong awareness.
And that's on the mainland. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, we're out of time, but thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
And we'll be back after the break. Welcome back. How far do we need to go to combat illicit drug use? The government recently ended a consultation on a proposed drug testing scheme that will give the police the power to spot test anyone they suspect to have taken drugs. If the test is positive, they would then be referred for treatment. Advocates say it will help, not harm drug users. Others are concerned it's an unnecessary expansion of police powers.
Currently, the police can only demand a drugs test if drugs are found on the suspect, under the rescue drug testing scheme proposed by the Action Committee Against Narcotics. In future, they'll be able to do so if drugs are found near the suspect or if the behaviour of an individual suggests they may have been taken. Many are worried such ideas are arbitrary and circumstantial and can lead to abuses of power.
嗰陣時我翻緊工嘅，佢就話我喺我翻工嘅時候去打交，之後俾佢拉咗翻差館，落完口供之後要翻去轉擔保啊嘛。每轉一次擔保，佢就話我另一度再打交又拉我咯，係咯，連續4次都係咁樣。
As a former drug abuser, Carson's worried that under the proposed scheme, the police may have more leeway to abuse their powers.
可能睇你唔順眼，佢覺得你串啊，你得罪佢啊，咁佢咪可以屈你翻去差館，先再慢慢處理你咯。譬如我自己啦，都試過俾警察打咯，就係得罪咗佢，講錯説話，得罪咗佢，就喺差館入邊俾佢打咯。
Help drug abusers quit drugs early.
We believe that for some people, in the early stage of their substance abuse, they normally go to the entertainment venue, parks or public areas, and by implementing the rescue drug testing scheme, we can identify them as early as possible.
驗毒同助復康咧，其實係爭好多步嘅。
According to the consultation paper, the number of drug abusers has dropped in recent years. It also said that most drug abusers take drugs in a home setting. So many are asking how increasing the power of police in a public place could help.
呢個係正正最大嘅問題嚟㗎，因為吸毒者咧常常係會逃避執法人員嘅。咁嗱，呢個係要考慮嘅，會唔會有反效果咧
？What we ask for is that you use the existing power to do it. They have not yet even used this kind of power. Ask the police how many cases they have brought to the, say, juvenile court for a care and protection order to address those drug abuse problems. Their court order, to under this protection, to require these people, a youth, to subject to these tests.
Others argue that compulsory drug testing and treatment work as stronger motivating factors. One drug rehabilitation school recently did a survey of its students.
究竟乜嘢嘅社工更加能夠促成嗰個濫毒者去進入一個住院嘅戒毒機制咧？乜嘢社工咧？咁佢哋第一個答案咧就認為係感法官，即係被逼啦。
呢度但係佔少部分咯。咁而大部分都唔係咁樣嘅，只不過佢哋所身處嘅社會環境，又或者係自己所面對嘅一啲關係，佢裏邊咧係可能好多挫敗，而令到佢係會吸毒啊。咁佢冇其他嘅一啲比較有效啲、健康啲嘅方法去疏解佢嘅問題，所以佢吸毒咯。啊，咁嗱，呢個就係最根源性嘅問題嚟嘅。
We are not proposing that by implementing the scheme we will solve all problems. We're not saying that. We're saying that by implementing this scheme, at least we can save some more.
我哋其實都有好多經驗㗎，有好多嘅朋友唔一定係年輕人咁簡單㗎，20幾30歲都有㗎，係被逼嚟接受我哋一啲嘅戒毒服務嘅。咁其實都係陽奉陰違嘅。佢喺嗰個嘅感化令期間，佢係會表現得聽話啊。咁但係完咗之後咧，佢哋就會即刻消失㗎啦。令到佢吸毒嘅處境冇改變過，佢咪會再食翻咯。
阿 Sir， 你快執嘢啦！我哋見到地下會有啲毒品啦，咁亦都見到一啲青少年咧，佢個樣係迷迷糊糊啦。根據現行嘅法例咧，我哋警方係冇一個權力帶呢啲吸毒者咧翻去差館做一個檢測嘅。
That is the crucial point, because under the existing legislation, police can do nothing.
It's like smoking and drinking. All people will be affected, but we would not go to such an extent to give power to police to search for cigarettes, to search for body sample.
你話係咪冇一啲系統去發現一啲隱蔽出現咧？其實真係唔係㗎。社工 佢去到個社區度，佢首先係喺個社區裏邊建立一啲關係先嘅。佢識到唔同嘅年青人，咁佢反為喺唔同嘅年青人、唔同嘅組群裏邊有晒關係，佢會攞到好多所謂嘅情報。佢知道邊個阿小強啊、阿肥啊，其實佢哋係有吸毒嘅。咁所以咧，佢可以好用一啲比較溫和啲嘅方法去接近阿肥啊、阿強嗰啲人咧，去建立咗關係先，然之後先至再識嗰個吸毒社群㗎啦。咁係透過呢啲比較自願啲嘅方式咧，係容易啲令到嗰個吸毒者係接受一啲服務咁其實係有㗎啦。咁而你一去到話如果條法例真係開咗之後咧，咁就大家會草木皆兵嘅，特別係即係我所謂嘅係吸毒者啊，會草木皆兵啊，會將自己呢啲吸毒嘅資訊會盡量埋藏，基本上都未必需要行到嗰個驗毒計劃添。而我哋會睇到其實個社會或者個政府仲有好多嘢做。
Lunar New Year is a time when many people turn, whether seriously or in jest, to forms of fortune-telling. But if an anti-superstition crackdown on the mainland has its way, the future will be less than bright for Hong Kong's prognosticators.
馬係我哋講嘅首先要跑得最快嘅，可能最急進啦。
其實請問咧，嗰啲運程書咧，今年嘅銷量點樣樣咧
？OK 啦，都幾多，好多人買嘅都。不過多數主要都係，我覺得都係內地人多。
普遍而家呢幾年上邊內地客多啲。
As the year of the horse begins, fortune-telling books are being snapped up by mainland tourists. The mainland Chinese government is determined to clamp down on the fortune-telling and feng shui books following an anti-superstition campaign ordered by President Xi Jinping.
近呢幾年嚟，唔單止係平民老百姓，而即使喺官場裏邊宣傳無神論嘅共產黨員咧，其實亦都有好多咧本身係幾信神信佛嘅。咁內地咧唔少嘅寺廟啊，佢自己本身開放俾人參觀嘅時候，其中有一部分嘅地方咧係封閉起嚟，只係俾官員或者一啲達官貴人咧係去拜神嘅。
依家喺上邊嘅出版業咧，基本上佢哋都係以經濟收益或者經濟賺蝕咧為佢哋嘅出版主要對象。除咗一啲國家級嘅佢哋必然佢哋要出版之外咧，其實上邊嘅出版已經寬鬆好多嘅。佢哋由頭到尾咧都係為咗想賺錢嘅啫。而運程書咧係好好賣，係非常之好賣，好賣過你任何一個大嘅作家。
A survey of about 1,000 senior officials by the Chinese Academy of Governance last year indicated that more than half of them believed in fortune-telling, astrology, and face reading.
依家係所講嘅運程書咧，就係我哋中國民間最原先嘅一本叫《通勝》。呢本《通勝》咧就係我哋中國人嘅百科全書。佢裏面包含咗好多文化嘅嘢咧，大家都忘記咗，就淨係要咗啲愛情啊、命運啊，或者佢嘅財運啊咁嘅一啲預測，就流行咗。依家咧，大家咧就俾人一個錯覺或者一個感覺咧，所有呢啲咁嘅運程嘅嘢咧，都係偏向迷信。
我唔會覺得算命或者啲類嘅術數係一個全科學，一定唔係，佢一定唔係一個全科學，但係佢有佢嘅理據去支持佢點解我哋咁多年嚟都會用佢。
Over the past 3 years, Mac has sold up to 300,000 of her fortune-telling books through a local agent on the mainland. She's been writing them for over 10 years, but the earlier copies sold on the mainland were all pirated copies.
3幾年前咧，就有一啲北京嘅大嘅出版社就話：喂，你唔好即係，不如我哋正式合作，我哋同你攞個書號申請啦，睇下出唔出到啦。如果得嘅，可以正式發行，當然最好啦。以前啲出嗰啲咧都係我，就話攞書號，但係其實係一啲借書還魂嘅書號啊，即係佢攞咗人哋個書號申請咗啦，佢就勾第二本書落去，就唔係正式攞批文嘅。
而家就好多翻版咯。因為我啱啱微博先收到，哎呀，我喺香港買呢個書咁貴，而家裡面咪28蚊本啫喎，同你個一模一樣嘅喎，咁就話會唔會你啲 書喺內地印，佢漏咗出嚟啊，佢哋咁樣講，咁通常呢啲都係翻版嚟㗎啦。咁啊翻版賣28蚊都好貴㗎啦，通常以前翻版賣5蚊10蚊嘅啫嘛。佢而家賣28蚊都好啦，因為再早段時間啲人直情翻版當正版賣，直情擺喺嗰啲大嘅便利店。
Taking advantage of the ban, online stores based on the mainland have started to sell fortune-telling books from Hong Kong. However, while many are probably pirated copies, they are still increasing the reputation of Hong Kong's soothsayers among the mainland public.
而家又好就係有電子版，我哋喺 Apple Store 咧已經做咗個 electronic book 俾佢哋 download， 一 download 嘅時間亦都有簡體版，咁好多人 download， 我哋長期係第一位㗎，係啊，喺香港第一位，喺內地大約第3至第6離不開。
And I'm afraid that's all we have time for in today's show. We'll see you at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.